Hi everyone, welcome back to A. Marie Cards, and we are on the, technically I guess you could say the sixth card, but in the numerical order of the cards, this is card number 5 of the Major Arcana. I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. I hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day weekend. I unfortunately got a little sick, and my throat has been acting the voice has been kind of scratchy, so right now it seems to be pretty good, so I'm hoping it kind of stays that way, at least through the video. So for today's reading, again, for the month of February, we're pulling from the Good Tarot deck by Colette Baron Reed. That's the deck that we're using for all of the readings for this month. And so now we are on card number 5, and card number 5 is the Hierophant. Now, this card kind of has two connotations to it. So on one hand, it's kind of referencing the major institutions and things that uphold, kind of like the pillars that uphold society. So things like, for example, a big one for this card is the institution of religion. That's heavily implied with this card. In the Rider-Waite or the traditional decks, it's very much kind of a bishop, minister kind of feel with the cards. There's often stained glass in the background, so it gives a very strong kind of Christian connotation with the card. Here, they're taking more of a very kind of open-minded, more spiritual approach, less about like particular organized religion and more about kind of the, you can say pagan, you can say just more spiritual and less organized, but it still has that same feeling of spiritual based institutions. So a lot of times when you look at it from that perspective, that first perspective, when this card pops up, it's kind of referencing the different institutions that are involved in our lives, not just the spiritual or the religious ones, but also things like education, the workforce and the workplace, financial institutions. So things that are very much dictating the norms and structure of society are kind of represented by this card. So having other cards around it, whatever cards pop up around it, can kind of dictate what exactly this could be referencing. For this first reason, if this card is in reverse, it could mean that there are things happening with these institutions or organizations that's not too good and is not of a benefit to you. So you may want to look in and see, hey, am I, getting everything that I can out of these institutions, or are they doing me wrong? And again, you can use the other cards around you to be able to clarify whether or not that's, what's happening and what you can do to possibly offset that. Now, the second meaning behind the Hierophant card is referencing your own spiritual practice. What are you doing in your everyday life to better connect with God, the divine spirit, whoever it is that you happen to worship? Are you doing everything that you can to basically, connect with and be one and in tune with spirit, with God, with the universe? If you're not, then you'll probably get this in reverse. And again, the other cards around you will kind of explain exactly what aspects of it are you missing and what you need to correct. So if you get this, if it's talking about your own personal spiritual practice and you get it upside down, then you need to look at the other cards and see, hey, what exactly do I need to work on? Do I need to meditate more? Do I need to focus on being out in nature more? What do I need to do in order to continue to, maintain a decent connection? So looking at the whole, looking at the Major Arcana as being cards telling a story, this is now, we're starting to get into the things, the outside things. A lot of those first few cards, a lot of them are referencing internal things that you're doing. Now we're starting to get into the outside forces, the things that are helping to shape and dictate who you are as a person. So this is one of the first ones where we start really seeing that, which is like, we start seeing a little bit with the Empress and the Emperor. Some of that is very much internal energy that you're giving up. It could also reference other people in your life or representations of groups of people. Now we're getting into the major institutions and things that shape our entire society and how those things impact you individually, or how you can impact those things individually. Or we're getting into, if we're still staying on the internal side of things, we're getting back into the spiritual practice of you yourself as an individual and how you are doing it or not doing it and what you can do to possibly improve. It could be that you need to do more on meditation. Maybe you need to go out more in nature. Maybe if you are part of an organized religion, maybe you need to go to church more. Maybe you need to go to synagogue more. Maybe you're not connecting enough to other members of that same religion or spiritual practice. Again, you're going to look at other cards. If you get just this one, for example, you're going to ask and pull other cards to see what the suggestions are as far as moving forward and making sure that you keep this connection established. As you can see, here they chose to use a priestess rather than a priest, which is an interesting switch up. A lot of times the Hierophant is usually a male, and now we have one who's not, well, I'll put it this way, they're not presenting as obviously male, which I think is really cool. This could be male or female, but they're not presenting as obviously male as they usually do in the Rider-Waite in the traditional tarot decks. They also have wings, angelic wings. There's the moon and the sun represented here, which also kind of indicates balance. As we move forward in the major arcana, you'll see the sun and the moon pop up again. Actually, you'll see them pop up several times, but they have their own cards as well. So you'll see the sun and the moon pop up a little later down the line, and we'll go more into detail about what each of these represent. But here in this case, it's kind of balance between, you know, sun and moon, light and dark. She's in front of an altar. There's a cup. There are rings, there is ink, and there is, I believe that's probably like an elixir or perfume of some sort. So all these different elements that she's using, these are all very traditional things, especially like the chalices. These are things that you'll often see on people's altars, depending on what they're working on or what their goals are. So this is for those of us who have altars or those of us who do any kind of pagan traditions. A setup like this is probably going to be looking somewhat familiar. But yeah, that is the Hierophant. As I said, this is kind of the spirituality / institution card in the deck. And yeah, that's it for the Hierophant. The next one is going to be, the next card is one that's really interesting because it's another one that can have two very different meanings. Most people only associate it with one meaning, but it has two different meanings that it can have. So we'll go over both meanings just like we went over both meanings for this one. So again, thank you for joining me. As always, I appreciate you guys subscribing. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, you know, let me know, hey, what kind of drew your attention with this card? Is there anything that really stood out to you with this particular card? And if so, what? And yeah, I will see you guys later for the next card next week, which will be card number 6. Be blessed. Bye.